Welcome to the Jaguar Podcast, a show where we discuss all things related to Duval County's finest NFL football team, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Move 42, set, fight!
Duval, baby! Hey, everybody, it's Andrew, and welcome to episode 91 of the Jaguar Podcast. In this episode, we're going to be discussing the Yannick Ngakoue and Tony Khan Twitter feud that's been going on for the past week. So let's jump into it. Before we start, though, quick kudos and thank you to all our healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, firefighters, police officers, servicemen and women that are all helping out during the coronavirus crisis and pandemic. We really appreciate it, and thank you. So, let's get into it. There's been a Twitter feud, like I said, that's been going on for the past week between Yannick Ngakoue and Tony Khan. It's been a bit of a show, to say the least. It's been interesting, man. Yannick Ngakoue has been franchise tagged, so he's, made it very clear he does not want to be in Jacksonville. So he's just been going kind of, full tilt on Twitter, attacking Tony Khan, the senior vice president of football operations for the Jacksonville Jaguars, trying to get traded, doesn't want to be there, has not been very happy about his situation and how his contract negotiations have been handled, in Jacksonville. So, it's been interesting to say the least. I think he's being, honestly a little bit of a diva about it. I definitely think he could be handling this a lot better, especially if he wants to get out of Jacksonville. But, there's been a series of tweets. I'll start with the first series here where Yannick Ngakoue tweets Tony Khan. He says, "Stop hiding, Mo." And then, Tony Khan replies, "I'm not in hiding, sir. I'm in isolation getting ready for the draft. I've been pretty active on social media in isolation, but you wouldn't know that since you unfollowed me again." So there's, definitely some drama going on between the two. There's a second exchange here. His reply to Tony Khan where he says, "Since you're feeling might today," I'm sure he meant mighty today, "let's both let the world in on the truth. We've been having a discussion that the Chargers game was my last game, yet you try to backdoor the situation without answering any of my camp's calls. Shake my head, spoiled bruh, holding up people for no reason," and then like a clown-faced emoticon. So, obviously Ngakoue is not happy with the Jaguars because I guess they weren't answering his calls or his agent's calls. And then Tony Khan responds, "It's a new regime here, sir. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of the contributions you made here. That said, tweeting insults at me won't get you traded any faster. Only good trade compensation will do that. Please redirect your efforts into a more productive outlet." And then the third kind of series of responses here, Ngakoue responds on Twitter with, "Just trade me. I don't need this speech." And then, a start the races kind of emoticon or go emoticon. Forgive me, I'm not up to speed with all these emoticons. But then Tony Khan responds with, "Show me the compensation. I'm sure you're really driving up the price today, by the way." So, definitely a little bit of a fight going on between the two on Twitter. But I honestly think Tony Khan won this one. I just think Yannick Ngakoue is being very immature on how he's handling this whole thing. I mean, let's not forget, Yannick, you are employed by the Jacksonville Jaguars still. You are not, you are not employed by anybody else. You are employed by the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I think he forgets that. And it's like the big thing now, man, with all of these, like, sports stars. They go on Twitter now and, they use it as a negotiation tool, or use it as leverage to try to get people to support them and sway public opinion, when they're in contract negotiations rather. And it's just like the new thing now. And but it doesn't apply to anybody else, though. It doesn't apply to me, right? If I had a job and I'm going and, talking smack to my employer because I feel like, hey, I feel like I deserve more money. So, I feel like I'll just go bash my employer on social media. Like, no, that's not how it works for any of it. It doesn't even work that way for, like, the high paid CEOs that work for these big prominent companies. You don't see them going bashing their employers, in contract negotiations and saying all this stuff, or sending tweets to the board members of companies. Hey, I think I should be, paid more money. No, it doesn't happen. It only happens in the NFL, or it only happens with, these professional athletes. So it's definitely, in my opinion, a bit of a show. And I'm sure I'll get trolled for that. And they'll be like, well, dude, you're being like, too proper or whatever. No, it's just kind of an interesting situation. I mean, so I just feel like he's not handling this well at all. If he wants to get out of there, this isn't the way to do it. I think Tony Khan has just handled this so well. I look at Yannick Ngakoue's Twitter feed, and I had to mute him because it was getting out of control. These cryptic tweets and all this nonsense. You get tired of it. And, he's just handling this so immaturely.
Idiot!
If he wants to get traded out of Jacksonville, rather, he needs to be doing his part and trying to be a, constructive teammate or, collaborator, and working with other teams or with the Jacksonville Jaguars to get a good deal done. And his agent should, honestly, as well. I don't know who his agent is now. I know he switched agents. But I'll tell you what, it's not looking good so far. And it may turn into one of those, Le'Veon Bell situations, or also kind of looking very similar to a Jalen Ramsey situation, right? So maybe when we come to the actual season, Yannick Ngakoue will just, fake a back injury or whatever, and he'll just sit on the bench and not play for the whole season. Not very smart, though, I will say the least.
Idiot!
Because, he's going to lose a lot of value doing that. He's pulling an Antonio Brown or a Le'Veon Bell. So it's really not a good situation. And, I think it's actually very similar to the Jalen Ramsey situation. I mean, when you look at the tweets that Yannick Ngakoue sends out, a lot of them are like religious, like God is great, yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to hate on religion because I'm religious myself, but it's very similar to the tweets that Jalen Ramsey, sends out. So I feel like he's kind of taken a lot of, pages out of the Jalen Ramsey, get out of Jacksonville playbook. And it's just not working out very well. So, I mean, he needs to have a heart-to-heart with his agent, or, kind of see the light if he wants to get out of Jacksonville, because he's not really doing a good job of playing this the right way, to say the least. So, I'm hoping, he kind of comes to his senses, or, Tony Khan and Dave Caldwell and Shad Khan and Yannick Ngakoue all have, a heart-to-heart and figure this out, because, I feel like we can get this done. We can get a trade done if we want to. But, yeah, definitely a shit show. And I hope they get this resolved. Let me know how you feel about this situation. Leave me a comment on the YouTube video or podcast episode. If you're bored, come by my Twitter feed @Jaguar Podcast. This is a podcast, so come by Apple Podcasts. leave me a review and some feedback. It always helps me when I put these episodes together. If you enjoy this content, subscribe to the channel. Give me a like on this video. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Stay away from the coronavirus. Go Jags, and I'll see you next time.
Let me get that. JYD coming up with the big sack. Quarterbacks beware, we on the prowl. Game day night, you could hear it in our growl. Intimidation on to keep their hearts racing. Eating other teams live on TV front of the nation. Spectacular defensive scheme.
This episode is available on the Jaguar Podcast YouTube channel. So if you stop by, make sure to subscribe and give this video a like. Also, these episodes are available on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and other major podcast distributors as well. So if you don't mind, please leave me a review and some feedback. I'd really appreciate that. If you'd like to connect with me on social media, my Twitter handle is @JagWarPodcast. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. This is Andrew signing off. Cheers.